G'day guys, how you going? Hope you're all having a fantastic afternoon. Here in Australia it's bloody hot, very very hot, so I thought what better way to spend an afternoon like this than be in an air-conditioned room doing a review for you all. So hopefully you enjoy this review just as much as the others, or if you don't enjoy them at all, hopefully you don't enjoy this one as much as the others. This is an American horror film. You all know that I'm a little bit disappointed, not my cup of tea American horror, but lately it's starting to redeem itself, so I was hoping that this one would be no different. I'm assuming that this one's of a higher budget because, you know, a director of this nature, I'm thinking is a higher budget director. I could be wrong. I could, you know, come across as a complete idiot otherwise. But I'm assuming that it's a high budget, so I'm going with it. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is the film I'm about to review. So in case you haven't read the title, the film I'm going to be reviewing is called The House of the Devil, released in 2009, directed by Ti West. So the story to this one is as follows. Sam is a pretty college sophomore who is so desperate to earn some cash that she accepts a babysitting job with the sinister Ullmans. Mr. and Mrs. Ullman lure Sam out to their creepy Victorian mansion deep in the woods, just in time for a total lunar eclipse. It soon becomes clear that she will end this night in a bloody fight for her life with whatever bone-chilling horror is locked in the house with her. So basically what we have, a young sophomore college student. She is so desperate for money because she has just recently got an apartment, so she needs money to pay it off. So she accepts a job at a Victorian mansion. Now this job is very strange. Initially she thinks that the Ullmans, Mr. and Mrs. Ullman, who are advertising for this job, initially she thinks that she's going to be looking after her kids for the night. But it turns out that they lied to her, and initially she thinks that this is a little bit too weird, so she wants to leave. But Mr. Ullman begs her to stay, that no one else wants to take the job, and that they need somebody to look after his mother, who is upstairs. He says it's going to be very easy. The mother is very, very private, so she won't be any bother, and that he's going to offer a few extra $100 to make her stay. So she ends up staying because the money's too good to refuse. And throughout the night she just thinks it's going to be easy, but little does she know is that this night is going to be a fight for survival because something very sinister is hiding inside this house. So as far as I'm going to go to synopsis, if you want to know more, you know what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to buy yourself your own copy, or if you're a pirate and a thief, you want to download it, then be my guest. But you're going to have to do that in order to see how this film unfolds. Now my thoughts on this movie. Sorry, my nose is very itchy today. Thoughts on this movie. Director of Cabin Fever 2, it says on the back. And that's not really a selling point as far as I'm concerned, because I thought Cabin Fever 1 was bad. So I haven't even bothered with number 2. And to say, you know, to see a director of Cabin Fever 2, I thought, and that was the reason why I kind of passed up on this opportunity to see it. However, some glowing reviews here on YouTube convinced me finally to take a chance on this one. It was $20, so it wasn't cheap, but then it wasn't overly expensive either. But I was hoping that it was going to be worth the $20. And to be honest, the first half of this film, I was really onto something. I thought I was really onto something. The suspense in it is really a throwback to olden times sort of horror films. Now, this is a throwback to 80s stuff. I'm not really a fan of 80s horror, so it's going to appeal to fans of this sort of era much more than it did to me. A very 80s sort of soundtrack, and it was just a throwback to even Alfred Hitchcock sort of stuff, in that the first half an hour, or more than half hour, maybe the first hour, is nothing but just intense sort of suspense. Nothing is happening at all. She's just this young girl in this very big, empty, creepy mansion. But the attention to detail as far as suspense and environment goes from Ti West was second to none, and it's not very often that you see it in modern day American horror films. The tension that just builds up so well that it promises to be such a huge finale. It's like you buy a big firecracker and you light up the fuse and you're just waiting with anticipation for it to explode because it promises so much. And that's exactly what you get from this. There's creepy noises, but it doesn't rely on jump scares and it doesn't rely on any gore. It's just the threat of what is behind the door. You don't know what it is. You're oblivious to it because there's no cutaways to show you what she can't see. Majority of the film is basically her in this house doing nothing, but you just get a feeling that something really creepy is upstairs, and you just don't know what it is, but it's that, you know, you urgently want to find out, but the director plays with you very, very skillfully mentally, and that's the sort of horror I go for. A lot of people say it's too slow, but I think it was perfect, and I thought the ending was really going to make or break this film. So whether or not that did, I'm going to leave that to a little bit later, but I'm going to go through what else really impressed me about the film. Now the acting didn't require major performances because the acting, it didn't rely on the character development. It just relied on atmosphere. And so the lead actress, she wasn't overly likable, but she really wasn't that much. You didn't hate her, but you really didn't care if she lived or died. So I thought a little bit more attention to the main character would have been a lot better. But having said that, it still doesn't take you out of the film because you still don't want to see terrible things happen to her. The Ullmans, who were the creepy owners of the mansion, they were very creepy. At the start, you didn't know if they were evil or if they were just a little bit weird, which really gave you a very unique sort of impression on them. At the end, you kind of know their true motives, so I'm going to leave that up for you to find out for yourself. But I thought there was no overacting in the film, and it wasn't overdone as far as dialogue is concerned either. I know a lot of people have criticised it for boring dialogue, but I thought it was very good because I just thought it just added to the unique sort of flavour that the film had going for it. Now, the cinematography, as I said, a very 80s sort of feel. I thought it was very well done. Nothing was pretentious. Nothing was done overly. Very, very subtle and very, very creepy. So a lot of positives going into this. But as I said, this film really does rely on a good ending. And, as I said, you get the big firecracker, you light it up, you're thinking, yeah, this is going to explode, this is going to be so awesome. It promises so much, it has so much potential. And then all of a sudden, pop. And you think to yourself, oh, is that it? And that's exactly what I got from this film. Very, very unfortunate because it had the making of a brilliant film, but the ending was absolutely poor. It was an absolutely dreadful ending. I'm not going to say it completely ruined the film, but it prevented the film, in my eyes, from being a very good one. Now, I just thought the ending was typical Hollywood laziness. It lacked imagination. It lacked motivation. It kind of just seemed like Ti West was just struggling to get through it and just wanted to end it very quickly. And he probably thought that the first half was good enough to make the film. But unfortunately, it prevents it from being a good film, in my opinion, because a good film needs a good payoff. And this one really was quite, and I'll go as far to say it was an insulting ending because it builds up like 70 odd minutes. It goes for 91 minutes, so about 80 minutes of this film was great build-up, and it really does promise so much, but it delivers so little as far as the ending goes. I thought it was just complete crap, the way it ended. And so, as a result of that, I was very, very, very disappointed in this one. I just feel that American horror really, really struggles with endings, and if this film had a good ending, I thought it would have been probably the best American horror film in the last 10 years, because of its unique sort of creativity and the flair that it had, and the promising build-up, and the throwback to even Alfred Hitchcock stuff, in that you don't know what's going to happen, but the level of threat is building up in your mind, and you kind of have the impression, you can kind of picture what's behind the door, and it's like picturing a pit bull behind a door, but when you open it's a little chihuahua just barking, and you think, oh, what the hell was I afraid of? That's exactly what I got with this film. It was a very, very disappointing ending. As a result, out of 5 stars, I'm going to give this 2.5. I thought 2.5 because the first half was very, very good, but, completely ruined by a very, very bad ending. Well, I shouldn't say completely ruined. It ruined it from being a very good film. I would recommend it, I guess, to people who are, true fans of old sort of suspense horror, but don't be too, wishful of the ending, because I thought it was one of the most crappy endings I've seen in a very long time, and, it's just, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the director was thinking, but the way it flopped, in my opinion, and it's just such a true shame because, it really, really had the makings for a very good one. Now, it says here is a movie with real shivers. I'm going to agree with that because the first half, as I said, had you shivering, and it showed a lot of skill, and the attention to detail from Ti West on the suspense levels was very, very good, and it does show that this guy has a lot of talent. However, and then it says one of the best horror films of the year. Well, one of the best half horror films of the year. As far as the ending goes, it was absolutely shitty. It must have been a slow year because for this one to be regarded as a great horror film, I think that was overrating it greatly. Definitely not a film I'm going to recommend based on the ending, but if you want a film that's pretty much half done, then I would recommend it. It does show a lot of skill as far as technique is concerned, but overall, very, very disappointing ending. Prevents this film from being recommended from me. So, yeah, a real tragedy as far as I'm concerned. It showed a lot of promise, but it just didn't deliver. Alright guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.